My name is Joan Davis. I am with the Great Panthers. We're made up of people who would like not just to notice injustice, but to change injustice, to stop injustice, because there is life after grumbling. We hope so. There are a tremendous number of issues that people are concerned about. They're health issues and environmental issues, and we have some people who work mostly with the protecting Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, and then we have people working on housing. And I am very much engrossed in environmental issues and peace. I think peace is long overdue. I think peace is possible. And I think that if we all get together and see how much we have in common, we are certainly going to be able to be walking in the right direction toward it. How do I see discrimination against older people? Well, I think to begin with, younger people think we're cute if they like us and annoying when they don't. They don't see that if somebody is bothering them, perhaps maybe we have an opinion that's worth thinking about. So generally, in the media, when they give the traffic reports and the temperature, they talk swiftly. That's without knowing it, that's very hurtful, because older people cannot process material with the same speed that younger people do. I think if people had more of knowledge of that, older people wouldn't have to say what and ask people to repeat. I was at a demonstration once, and it was a very crowded street, and of course we had to keep moving, and we were crowding the sidewalk, but we were protecting not just Medicare, we were protecting Medicaid, which involves other age groups as well. And I remember this tall, very good-looking young man. He walked briskly by and he says, "Oh, get a life." He didn't stay long enough to engage me in conversation. I couldn't engage him because I was confined to walking in a pattern. You know, it was not a narrow street, but and it rang. I felt if I could, I would have liked to have a conversation with him. And what did he think I was doing? I was not living because I was fixated on an opinion that he did not share. I thought he was very narrow, and I thought he did not see that we were protecting his life and his future as well. And when we are concerned about Social Security and Medicare, it's not just for ourselves. It is for the next generation. It's like the Native Americans in this country say, you have to look ahead 7 generations. 7 generations. We borrow. This life is not us to just use and discard when we're finished with it. We have to be more thoughtful of other people. And there was another incident. I was walking behind a woman with a walker. Her gait was very labored. She was, her body was a lot old. She seemed a lot older than I was, and I was not. This only happened a couple of years ago, so I'm not exactly what you'd call a young kid. And people were coming, 2 young people, I'd say they were in their 20s or 30s, were coming in this direction toward her, and I saw that she was walking. I was waiting, and I saw that she was walking at a nice clip, but she had to maintain a certain kind of rhythm in her walking. And the 2 women who coming toward her, they were engaged in conversation, and they did not notice that she was coming. They did not notice a slow-moving vehicle was approaching, and they nearly knocked her over. And when they passed her finally, and they got closer to me, I was walking behind her at a that she, I was walking, let's say 20 feet behind her. And when they passed her, and they were complaining that she was nasty to them. Now, they didn't see that she needed space around her, and because they weren't paying any attention to what was around them, they were very unkind to her without even knowing it. And that happens a lot in people are, you see a person walking very slowly, and some people walk around and give them the space, and others do not. And if you're not involved in what's around with, if you're sort of engaged only in what you're concerned with, you might miss what somebody else might need. So that's an example of something that is inconsiderate in terms of aging. The first time I went, it was about a week and a half after they'd started, and the weather was miserable. And I woke up and I had could hear my mother say, those people must have had a terrible time at night. It's cold, they're hungry, and they're hungry, yeah, they need something to eat. Well, I hadn't thought about that, so I called up a friend and I said, I'd like to make sandwiches and go bring them. And so I did. I made some sandwiches and we went down there. And then I saw that they had a table set up, and they were already thinking, and they were very grateful for the sandwiches that I brought. They were just peanut butter and banana or peanut butter and tomato, but it was useful. I went another time with the Great Panthers, and we had very interesting conversations with the people there about the fracking that legislation we're trying to pursue. And we were standing next to some young men who were rapping, and they were very good. And we were talking about issues. And so I was talking with this young man about the banking issues and what I consider the high point in banking history. And I also came across that late one night on a talk show, someone was talking about Ferdinand Pecora. And who was Ferdinand Pecora? So the moderator asked. He was he was a district attorney from New York who took over the failing investigation. It was not getting to a point. The senators were unhappy. The Hoover was Hoover was not pleased with it, and they were getting nowhere because every time they would interrogate a banking expert, what we call now a CEO, they didn't call. I don't know whether they called them that at that time. When they spoke about this, the banking, everything is fine, everything is perfect, and we're doing everything honestly and above board. You know how they talk. It's very convincing. It's all a lie, but it's convincing. Anyhow, they were some of the senators were about to throw in the towel and call it quits, but they wanted to let the investigation come into the next administration. They thought maybe Roosevelt could do something more with it. So they came upon, someone had suggested this district attorney from New York who had a photographic memory and a razor-sharp wit. Well, he turned out to be a blessing, and the reason that Glass and Stiegel were able to get the regulation that they wanted, that they were struggling to, that never came up for a vote because there was not enough interest. Everybody thought, well, we'll annoy the bankers and we'll go, things will get bad. As it turned out, that is now a very large disappointment that when Obama took office, he did not resurrect the memory of this man's work. Subsequently, there is a book called Hellhound of Wall Street, and I have it here, and it's a marvelous book, and it describes it's the history that you don't find in the history books that is so necessary to put back. because that was a high point. Because of that, there were regulations were able to be passed that were fair. And somehow they left a few loopholes, and loophole seems to be the way of life in our modern times. And it's a devastating thing because it interferes with justice and interferes with democracy. It really is an infuriating thing, and that's why I'm very glad that the young people are doing what they are doing to hold on, and the way they organize themselves so that they can take care of whatever they need and do as well, and they're doing as well as they're doing and inspiring others to do. I think I'm very glad it is catching on. And the fact that it caught on in Oakland, and they kept a port from working. They had a day of protest that was as lively, and it's a wonder to me that the press is not giving it the coverage that it's due. It's an exciting thing. Perhaps they're afraid it'll catch on, which is way we're being manipulated. It should catch on. And I think it's going to catch on in spite of the press, because people want justice. People are entitled to justice. And so when we were there and we were telling all about Ferdinand Pecora to this young man, and I had a copy of the book with me, he read the front cover and he read all the blurbs on the back. And lo and behold, he opened up his mouth. He made a rap about that time in history. And Ferdinand Pecora, for that while, was alive and well, and I hope he will be resurrected, because he's the kind of going after facts that is it's a methodology we should pursue. We should not let people get away with making any kind of loopholes that they please. And that's very important. So I'm very pleased with the young people down. And after this afternoon, there's going to be a march from Washington Heights all the way down. I'm going to try to catch it part of the way. I'm going to take my sign that says regulation is not a dirty word, because it's not.